Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Michelle Graff, and I'm the editor in chief at National Jeweler. I'm pleased to welcome you to the latest episode of My Next Question, National Jeweler's webinar series, sponsored by RDI Diamonds. Today's session is hosted by our senior editor, Ashley Davis, and features Elle Hill, founder and CEO of Hill & Co. Before I turn it over to Ashley and Elle to get started, just want to let all our attendees know that if they have a question, they can type it into the Zoom Q&A box at the bottom of your screens. I will be back on at the end of the discussion to facilitate the Q&A. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available for viewing on the National Jeweler website this coming Friday, April 30th. Now I'll turn it over to Ashley so she can get things started. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Elle, for being here today. It's so great to have you on. I think that we should just get right into it. First, let's talk a little bit about you. Can you share your professional background and just kind of how you got started in jewelry?
Sure. It was by accident. I had studied theater and I wanted to not live on my girlfriend's couch anymore. So I needed a job. And I applied to what at the time was the largest colored gemstone jewelry manufacturer in America. It was like a $250 million company, and I was the assistant to somebody's assistant. I like swept the sample room floor, literally. But I ended up handling Macy's for them and all the majors because they sold to the majors. And then I went to work from there. I met a whole bunch of amazing women through the Women's Jewelry Association, including Phyllis Bergman, who I kind of went, oh, one day, if I could be like her, and they had the meetings at Fabricant and Son, which was the largest jewelry manufacturer in America at the time. And so I ended up jumping and reporting to her husband over there as vice president of sales, selling 5 of the top 10 major retailers in America, and opening up the UK market for them. But at that time, the US market was still growing, but it was growing like 9%, 8%, 7% per year. And the Chinese market was like the hot thing everyone was talking about, 15, 16, 17% per year. And my husband had lived in China and spoke some Chinese. So during my maternity leave, we moved with my 6-month-old baby and my 1-year-old boy to mainland China, like not an A, B, C tier city, like way mainland China. And I had to get a special tutor to teach me how to say, like, what's your best-selling color and clarity in Chinese, So I got very good at Wohen Gao Xin Jian Dao Ni. And I started traveling around. And I learned, because just like in America, what sells in Texas is totally different than what sells in New York, is totally different than LA. So I started traveling around to the different provinces to figure out what was going on over there and why was it so hot. And from there, I started working with Dalumi Diamonds, a double DTC site holder out of Israel and in London and Botswana. And they had like a $10 million business. They had an amazing team of about 40 people who, worked with me for 4 or 5 years to make that business profitable, which was a great and amazing experience. It made me think, I kind of know how to do this. So I launched my own. At the time, it was an online only fine designer jewelry business. And this was like back in 2011, where people thought I was stupid to do it because like nobody knew us, we weren't a brand, and how are we who buys jewelry online, right? Well, we screwed up, we failed, we got things wrong, and then we got them right again. And I brought that company public on the Australian Stock Exchange in under 4 years. So after that, I moved back to England, where I was really determined to lay like a star shape on my living room floor, because it's really blood, sweat, and tears to bring your own company, build your own company, but also bring it public at the same time. But the phone started ringing. People started asking, can you help me? I'm building my company. Can you help me? I'm launching a company. Can you help? I'm growing a company. Can you help me? And I thought, oh, there's a hole in the market here. There's a service that needs to be provided. There's something that people need that they don't have. And let me tell you, I knew they didn't have it because I didn't have anyone to help me. Look, I'm getting excited here. I didn't have anyone help me. I had to figure out SEO. I had to figure out digital marketing. I had to figure out, how do we take everything I know from the frigging 15 years I've already been in this industry since I was 12, clearly. And how do I translate that to online? And by the way, I learned along the road that, online only isn't as powerful as online, offline, in the bathtub, on your phone, everywhere. Um, and so Hill and Company was really born in 2012, to just kind of try and pay myself a little something while I was doing my startup before it was making revenue. And it really came into its own after I moved back to England with my now 4 children and beautiful husband. And it's grown very, very rapidly. We have our in-house development team, our chief digital officer, copywriters, so that we can do all of our own marketing, come up with the best digital marketing, omnichannel, offline marketing strategies. But what we're really known for is the fact that we launch and grow businesses. We're not a marketing company, we're not a product company, we're not a merchandising company. We get the EBITDA going in the right direction. So we have a bunch of amazing experts. I mean, I have never, ever put out a "we're hiring" sign, although we may be doing that shortly. But experts have come to me that said, wow, you guys, our tagline is "we do good work for good people." That's what we're about. We switched to saying we work with only responsibly sourced businesses, because I do believe that that's not initiated into your competitive strategy, you won't have a business in 5 years' time. But really, it's about doing good work for good people. And it's really just exploded from there. And so that is like the fastest nutshell I can give you on my entire journey from start in the industry to here.
That was impressive, because I'm sure it's a humongous novel of all of the actual steps from A to B.
Yeah. I was at Estee Lauder before that in the Aramis Cologne division in marketing. So like for 5 minutes after university. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So then Hill and Co., I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I even frame this? So Hill and Co. kind of has its hand in a little bit of everything when it comes to launching and rebranding companies.
Right.
What are some of the biggest projects that you've undertaken, or some of, I guess, the biggest achievements that you guys have experienced?
Yeah. Early on, I had the luxury of working with a family-owned business, which is the #1 engagement ring brand in independent retailers across America. And we worked with them for the better part of 2 years, and we helmed their video marketing strategy. And that was just pretty amazing because, we have a deep and broad network in the industry. Obviously, I've been in Hong Kong, China, Europe, America, when we work for brands that are, competing at a Cartier level, and we've worked with single store retail owners in Mississippi, so we have a lot of different experiences. But one of my favorite first experiences with a really large brand was, working with that semi-mount and fashion house and helming their video marketing strategy. And this is now going back, I think 5 years now, where video is so important. And, because of my unusual trajectory, I knew that was true already. So it was really fun to just be able to take the reins and work with some amazing visionary owners of that business and really helm that. So that was one of my favorite things. And another one.
Sorry to interrupt, but a quick question. Why is video so important? And also, did they come to you specifically, can you help us with our video marketing, or did you pinpointed that need for them? Okay. So why is video so important?
Yeah, that's such an excellent question you just asked, honestly. And I get asked a ton of questions, but that's an excellent question. Almost everyone who comes to us for one thing, and we end up working on maybe some of that, but usually something else. I think I'll answer your question about the video first, though. It's the closest thing we've got. Like, what happened when lockdown happened, right? I've been working next to a chicken farm and a cow farm here in North Yorkshire for the past 5 years, right? So I travel a ton pre-COVID, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. And my interaction with my clients was always on a telephone, right? With my earbuds in so I could type, and that was it. The minute this happened, what did we all do, right? We all got on Zoom. We wanted to see people's faces. We wanted to see the look in their eyes. We wanted to understand, like, from their expression, did they get what we were talking about? Were they on board, or were they like, no way, I'm not with you, you know? So we want as much sensory input as possible to get as close as we can to the way we are in real life. So I believe video is important for the same reason that I think digital and operating inside of a digital footprint shouldn't be as inscrutable as people often think, because the hard part is the way we actually interact with people. Once we figured that out, we just need to let technology translate that into the digital world. I think video in particular is important because no matter whether you're selling B2B or you're selling at retail, 80%, some people say more, 80% of the buying journey is happening online. So if you can just put words on a page, you've communicated an idea. If you can do a podcast, you've communicated a tone of voice. But if you have a video, it is the only thing they can't do is feel you, which is, that might be okay. So I think video is extremely important. It's the closest thing we have to being face to face.
Okay, so it's the most immersive. It feels so logical when you put it like that. It's the most immersive. So it's how we can experience something without being right next to you in your location experiencing it.
Exactly.
Essentially. Okay, and so I cut you off talking about the biggest projects you've undertaken.
Okay, so I absolutely adored, and I don't think that she'll mind me saying, working with Katie Zimmerman at Blue Nile. For a year of my life, and this is going back a few years, I spent a week out of every month in Seattle. Bain and Company brought me in as they were bringing Blue Nile off of the public market. And there wasn't a chief merchant. There certainly wasn't a Katie Zimmerman there. And so I was in there for a few months as that position. We were, so fortunate to fill it with Katie Zimmerman and to get to work with her for the better part of the year. Whip smart, super fast. It was fantastic and one of the best experiences I've ever had. Also, because at the top of it, I was like, really? They need me and my little team of people, and it was really one of the times that we kind of went, wow, it is any man's game right now. And very big companies are having their lunches eaten by more agile startups that don't have a legacy patchwork quilt of an old tired tech stack that isn't doing what the consumer wants to experience today. So it was a wonderful experience to be able to come in and bring the experience that we had to bear on such a really impressive operation, and to work with perhaps the best merchant I've ever worked with.
Wow. Okay. So to start with kind of getting into more specifically what you do for companies and your expertise and thoughts, this is a big question, what are the essential prongs of a strategy that a jewelry business needs to consider when launching today? So like what would be the major bullet points of the areas that they're gonna have to hit? The most basic.
So you're asking about a jewelry brand launching? Okay. So why are you doing it? Number one, why are you doing it? It doesn't matter if you're a single designer trying to launch your own brand, or you are a CEO reporting to a board. What is the why? What is the reason? And that reason has to be a combination of two things. Who has a problem in the marketplace that you're uniquely positioned to solve? Or who needs an opportunity that you're uniquely positioned to put the reins in their hands for them? That is, every business needs a right to exist. You don't just get, just like I tell my sons and my daughters, just because you were born doesn't mean you're going to find the perfect person you'll get married one day. That's like a load of hooey, And just because you want to have a business, or just because you want to start a business, doesn't mean you get to, unless you've created and done the research. And the research is inside, which is what kind of business do I run? What kind of day do I want to have? When I get up in the morning, do I want to go to an office? Do I want to go to a store? Do I want to be at home? Do I want to be in an office? Like, it has to work for the individuals, whether it's a large organization or a startup from just a few key people or just one. It has to work for what do you want your day to look like? Number one, what's your reason for doing this? What's your vision and what motivates you? And then what is the right to survive? What is the right to exist for your business? A lot of people were forced to ask that question last year, which is heartbreaking, and which, you know, gave us great gratitude that we were that we're a helping business and we helped people figure that out. But the number one thing is why? Who needs this business? So what? You know, and once you've answered that question, there's a need. We're uniquely positioned to solve it. Then you have to go about saying, okay, who are we serving? Who has this need? Who wants this opportunity or wants this product or wants this service? And how do we communicate to them? So I don't want to like go down like a whole, you know, omni-channel business strategy, which includes sales and marketing. I mean, we could spend the whole hour on that, but you have to figure out, you know, what's your right to exist? Why do you want to do it? Because if you don't have a good reason, you're not going to have the stamina and the ambition and the energy and the passion to get it done, because it takes a lot. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So why do you exist? Why do you want to do it? What's the reason your business needs to exist? Who are you serving? Where do they consume information? How do you show up and give them the message that talks about what they need, when they need it, so that you can help them follow along a journey of getting the idea of what you offer, and then getting more info from you easily, however they consume it, whether it's on their phone or it's on their laptop or it's, you know, on YouTube or Instagram or Clubhouse. And how do we then make it easy for them to consume this product or service and then receive it and be delighted and then recommend it to other people so that we can keep that journey going. So that is like a multi-pronged overarching business model and omni-channel strategy for marketing.
Okay. Very, very interesting, because a lot of it is about kind of honesty with yourself, which really surprises me for some reason. I'm like, honesty, but no, I that's not where I thought you would go with that.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So you know, right? You know, when you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, whoever you are, wherever you're consuming information or reading a magazine, you can spot the ad that's like a little smarmy, or the one that you know is just like really trying to make a buck quick and isn't caring about. You can smell inauthenticity miles away. And it starts from the top of the head right down to the soles of your feet. If the organization, I mean like head of the board, CEO, right down to the person that's sweeping the sample room floor. If you're not passionate about your North Star, which is who are you serving and what are you serving and how are you making their lives better in some way, you've lost the competitive edge, you know. And the world is flattened in such a way that the big giants, okay, the big four horsemen, you know, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Google, yeah, there's certain mountains that are not climbable and will not be toppled, but the world has really flattened in such a way that a startup can be smart and agile, use low cost and no cost strategies, and they can get on the map. So passion and commitment can really trump. We've seen big businesses fall, you know, because they got too complacent with not keeping their finger on the pulse of consumer behavior and not keeping up with the technology that's going to serve consumers the way that they want to consume. So it has to start with the passion. It has to start with the authentic North Star of who are we serving and how do we serve them best? Like even internally at Hill and Company, because I just couldn't fake it, right? I couldn't fake anything. Like, so everything I do in my own daily life. Everything we tell our clients to do, we do in our business too. And like our North Star is doing good work for good people. And anything, doesn't matter how big the price tag, anything, if it isn't good work for good people, if we're not going to end the day and go, you know, we're dealing with heart pendants, not heart valves. So what we really get at the end of the day is affecting someone, affecting their life, their livelihood, the livelihoods of the people that work with them. So there's our North Star. Like, will this best serve the client? We ask it like 18 times a day. And every business has to ask those kind of questions. So like when people start with, profit margins or goals, like, or segmentation, I'm like, but why are you doing it? Because they're going to smell that a mile away.
Okay. It feels like today, with a lot of these kind of what I would consider successful startups in the jewelry space are direct to consumer, but they're the ones that advertise themselves as, let's say, no markups, and they say things like, we've made the jewelry industry transparent, we've cut out the middleman, so we're offering things to you at this low price. But with their kind of marketing and branding and the way that they speak, they have really managed to resonate with a lot of millennials, I feel like, and really kind of fit into that niche of brands that they like. So kind of like a Majorie or an Orate, and kind of brands like these. So I am curious your opinion and how you would advise people who are launching. So for makers and designers and jewelry lovers who are launching a business, how do they decide whether they want to sell to retailers? And of course, everybody has to sell directly to consumers as well, but to have a more traditional financial markup model versus, I'm not going to sell in stores, I'm going to sell direct only to consumers and lower my margins. What are like maybe some basic pros and cons of that for startups today?
Yeah. I think like the first thing, I don't know if you saw it on my face, because I'm so like, I don't have a poker face, but like if you're going direct to consumer, the skill set that you have to have and the marketing budget that you have to have needs to be super strong, especially if you are not already a known brand who's trying to then go direct to consumer. They have it much easier, clearly. And I mean, we have some clients on our docket, they're $25 million business. They've never had a store a day in their life, and they don't even know the industry really. But what have they done? They have focused like a laser on the people that they serve, and they know them. They usually are them, right? They're usually solving a problem for themselves. And I'm hoping that this ties into your question and answers it, because finding a niche that is maybe, an inch wide, but miles deep is going to give you power. Because you said starting, right? So I'm not thinking about a business that is already a big household name and then they want to go direct to consumer, right? I'm someone who's starting. The key is to be able to target like a laser, to identify like what kind of nail polish. Does she wear nail polish? Is he buying? Is she like, is to really understand who you're serving, where they consume information, what websites they go on, like, because you are going to have a huge marketing budget and a huge amount of talent, understanding how, and also keep your finger on the pulse. Like, oh, am I now driving them to my website through forms on Facebook rather than driving them to a landing page? And is that going to get me better efficacy and conversions? My KPIs are going to go in the right direction. So there's a lot of cost involved in going direct to consumer. You might not have stores, but you're going to need tech talent, you're going to need marketing budget, and you're going to need know-how. So, but what you should have going for you is you're not trying to be all things to all people. You're targeting like a laser on the person that you either know very well because you're one of them, or you're familiar with it and you've done the research like down to the details of who those people are and how you can best serve them. And I'm trying to remember whether I answered your question with that or not.
No, I think you answered that. It's kind of like, is part of your why that you're so passionate about digital, and so passionate about kind of addressing that part of the market. And are you fascinated with just the information on how to appeal to people in that way?
Is that a question for the business starter or is that a question for me?
No. I'm kind of just summing up what
Oh,
you said.
got
You
it.
have
I
to
see.
be in love with that part of your job,
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
marketing and the branding and understanding the
Yeah. But
understanding
here's the other
your
thing,
audience.
like we had a recent onboarding, and the gentleman has a wealth of experience with independent retailers. He understands the struggles that they have. He's like, I'm building a business to create a brand that will be sold by independent retailers, because he matched what he's uniquely positioned to do with a pain point in a marketplace that he can solve. So it does go, and I get boring because I say the same, the tenets are true and they don't really change, and they honestly really never have. We just use different tools to get from us to the person who's going to benefit from what we're focusing on, which is benefiting them, right? But this gentleman is launching a business, and because look, a P&L or a business model or a business plan is just a bunch of numbers, and like you said, the pricing has to cover the costs, and there's got to be money left over, and then you have a business, right? It's really the boring, easy part, even though it's a part that's often very neglected, by the way. And I find that it's like tea leaves when you look at someone's P&L, if they have one, and if they have a good one. But this gentleman said, yeah, direct to consumer is so hot, and and it's making it transparent. Well, there are other costs involved in doing it. So I'm not saying that one actually really will effectively make a sharper price point for the end consumer, but it might make a much better experience because they're being focused on so well, and they don't have to sift through a bunch of stuff that they don't like to get to what they do like. But that gentleman, for example, said, okay, I know factories, I know how to run factories, I've got great resources, I know independent retailers, I understand their pain, I'm going to support them the way they need to be, and he's got a business. So it does keep going back to, how are you uniquely positioned to offer something that is a hole in a marketplace, a need for a product or service, or an opportunity that people want.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then for a company, whether they're well established and just trying to up their digital presence and really kind of transform into a more modern type of business, or if they're brand new, how do you carve out a space for yourself in such a saturated market? And which platforms should you pay attention to? How do you even get the eyes on the marketing efforts that you're putting forth?
Got it. So the platform answer goes back to, who are you serving, right? So if I'm serving grandmas or women maybe about my age that grew up on Facebook, and I go over there to look to see my nephew's pictures and stuff like that, then if the type of people who I'm serving are consuming their information on one particular platform more than another, then that's the platform where you should be. If they're just getting started, was that part of the question?
Yes, if
Okay.
as far as their digital, the digital part of their business.
Got it. Okay, I love this question because most people go, okay, we're gonna go online, and then they open Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and get on Clubhouse, and they Pinterest page, and like, where the juice is worth the squeeze in social media is initiating relationships and deepening relationships. The juice that ain't worth the squeeze is just like promoting yourself, like pushing stuff out and just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And you're just one of those people, like I liken it to being like at a cocktail party. And if you were at the cocktail party and you're like, selling watches, and you're like, hey, nice to meet you, I sell watches, I sell the best watches. Nice to meet you, I sell watches, I sell the best. Oh, nice to meet you, did you know I sell watches? No one would want to talk to you very soon, right? You'd be like the boring girl who sells the watches. So the deal is to offer up content online that, yes, reveals what it is that you offer to the marketplace, but more talks to the people that you're serving, that we've gone over a couple of different questions, right? So you've identified this person that needs what you're doing, whether it's a product or service, right? So once you've identified them, you got to talk to them. Like, I know you're frustrated because you're really trying to get the best gift that's really quite unique. Maybe you sell personalized jewelry, right? Like, so you got to talk to them about like, how you can do it. And you don't even have to use initials. You could put BABE and just call your wife a babe, whatever. You have to talk to them about the challenges they're facing, how they might be able to solve them, give away the information, give away the value, give away the solutions. And then they'll see you as someone that they know, like, and trust, that, and they do that too. So maybe I'll go back and I'll ask them about that. So you put out content that, one, isn't the hi, I'm selling watches. It's like, hey, what do you do? What are you interested in? What are you having trouble with? You talk and you elicit information via the style of posts that you do. And we have like 6 styles of posts that we always make sure that we have in the carousel of posts. But where the juice really meets the squeeze, is worth the squeeze, is in the community management and engagement. It's in commenting on other people's posts. So you have to have your posts up there and they have to offer value. And I equate that to like, decorating a booth at a trade show. But where the business happens is the conversation, right? So you've got to like take a look at your followers, go to your followers' feeds all the time, comment on their feeds. That's when people go, oh, wow, Ashley, wow, I know her. And then, 3 months from now, when you want to do an article with them and you say, hey, it's Ashley, I'll be like, wow, she always likes my Instagram posts. And that's where the juice is worth the squeeze. So I think people think social media is about posting, and they're wasting a lot of time, money, and energy. What it's about is, post, because you got to decorate the house before you invite people to the party, but you got to go out and make friends and invite them to the party. And they're the people that are already following you. They were kind enough to say hi, but now go and ask them a question and give them some love. And the world works like this. It's the way it works in the real world. So it's the way it works online. And that's almost always the case. And the biggest thing is community management takes a ton of time. So I tell anyone who's just starting, do not open Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. You don't have enough staff. You don't have the know-how. You don't know what works yet. Do one and do it super well. Get it like a well-oiled machine. Get all the key performance indicators that show that you're doing a good job. More people are following you, more people are liking you, more people are commenting, comments are king, more people are coming back and coming to your website or coming to wherever you want to send them to, and then actually buying the product or service. That's how you know you're doing well. And once you know you're doing well, then you can expand.
Wow. Okay. That was a great answer. That was gold. That was worth the whole webinar, I think.
I gotta like sweat this stuff, but I hope I'm not talking too much.
Oh my gosh, please, no, we're here to hear you. So let's talk about physical retail today. What are the pros and cons for establishing a physical presence or increasing a physical presence? Where does that fit in?
I love this question. Because I hate all the people that are like, retail is dead. And look, COVID proved it. And that is baloney. And I will tell you, see how I didn't swear? I will tell you that the retail experience, and I just had 2 shopping experiences last weekend. I went shopping for myself, and I won't name the store. And I went shopping with my mother, my 79-year-old mother. And I was delighted. And I spent an hour in the store where they saw what we were looking at, kind of gathered it and said, hey, I noticed this other shirt. And they just gave us a delightful experience inside of that store. And the other store that I was at, I'm very systematic. I go around and I collect what I think might work, because I only want to go to the dressing room once, because I have the attention span of a gnat. And then my arms were loaded up. And I said to someone like, excuse me, could you start a dressing room for me? And the guy said, oh, they're right upstairs on the left. And I was like, are you kidding me? I felt like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. I was like, are you kidding me? I have 2 armfuls of clothing. And I'm going, could you take this so I can keep shopping? And you're telling me go up the stairs and put it there yourself? I was like, no way. So the reason why I tell that story is because physical retail has such an edge on online only. mostly because most people don't know how to equate that interpersonal interaction that we just described, in the digital world. You just got to learn it once, and then you know what to do, but you do have to learn it. And it's not straightforward to everyone, but there's almost an equal behavior for everything that you have done the hard learning of how to sell in a store. There's almost an equal behavior that will support and actually amplify that in digital, such that you may not even really increase your online sales, but you will increase your in-store sales because you're allowing people to consume you online where 80% of the journey happens. So back to the retail experience, like now retailers who have the opportunity to delight the way I was the second shopping experience have also this big frigging gun to support it that they never had before. And they have that in-person experience that also has smell and sound and touch, because we were talking about video and why it's so important online, right? Video can't give you smell, sound, and touch, man. And a retail store can. And it can give you a human being that asks you how your daughter was doing because you bought her a heart necklace, 4 months ago for her birthday. So I think retail has a huge advantage over online only. I think online only is a unique beast, and it's a challenging one. And it's not easy to get right. So people who think they're going to open up a website and then they're direct to consumer and big profits and it's going to be great. You open a store on a corner in a cloud. Nobody's walking by. No one cares who you are unless you can figure out who they are, where they walk, and then just happen to pop up in front of them with some value. So I think the retail world, the biggest thing they're overlooking right now is that they're not behind. They're not a dusty old cough. They are where the experience is happening, but they need to learn the tech to drive the traffic into the store, to drive the loyalty by showing up where they're consuming information all the time. And then they'll buttress that huge advantage that they have by having smell, touch, feel.
Okay, great. I have been doing a lot of reading lately, kind of about adjusting your mindset and being more open to possibilities, and kind of learning like how to stop playing it safe or playing it small. What would be your biggest tip to a business who, maybe you've been doing it for a while, you have so much knowledge, so much to give, but you don't know how to take things to the next level? What if you're doing everything right? How do you break out of playing it small?
That is such a great question. And there's two parts to my answer. And I'm afraid I'm going to forget the second one if I don't do the first one. Because you're talking about mindset. You're talking about how do you break out of playing it small. But you're also talking about fear of failure, fear of trying, safety of if I don't try, then I can't fail. So I think there's a lot in there. First, I'll go to the failure, and then I'll go to how do you break out of playing it small, or how do you, if you think you're doing it all right, but you're not getting the right results, it means you're not doing it all right, right? It means that you haven't found out the answer. You got to keep picking up rocks. But the important thing, and a friend of mine, the best man at my wedding, actually, he owns he's a very successful businessman, self-made. And he once said to me, and this is a mantra in my mind, the important thing isn't what decision you make. The important thing is making a decision. Because here's the thing. If it's the wrong decision, it's going to be like a coin that you flip and you go, oh shit, that totally, I did swear. Darn it, I was going to try not to swear.
This is the safe for swearing, don't worry.
It wasn't one of the class A swears. Okay, so you'll go, oh darn it. That's not what I want. Sometimes when you flip a coin, you really hear what you really actually wanted to do, or you really learn what really didn't work. So learning is as valuable as doing the right thing and getting it right the first time. So I think a lot of what people want to do is what they know they can succeed at, because that feels good. It feels nice to succeed. But if you're just doing what you know how to do and you're not getting where you need to go, you're spending too much time in the comfort zone. You got to go out towards the fear zone, which unless you like just storm through the fear zone, you don't get to the learning zone. So the mindset thing is huge. Another thing that I say at the top of telephone calls with people who are exploring working with Hill and Company, I say, let's go top of mountain first. If you had a magic wand and $10 million, what do you want your day to look like? What is the goal? What do you, 4 years from now, a year from now, you finish working with Hill and Company, what happened? What did you want? What did you want to get done? And then make sure you laminate that thought, and that is your North Star, right? And don't back off from it. Do the magic wand and $10 million. Don't say, well, I just want to grow a little because because I'm scared of how I could. No. Go for the North Star, and then we'll work backwards from that and break it down into little chunks that are manageable. Like, what can I do now this week for my first step, to get to the North Star? So there's a lot in there. Like, I also believe you should aim to fail. If you're aiming to win every time, you're not taking all the shots. So you have to, like, I have 4 children, right? And I feel like the word failure is such a crime because they avoid failing. But that means they avoid trying the things they don't have a guarantee at winning. So mindset is everything in there. And really going from ask yourself that question, because sometimes we don't even let ourselves dream as big as we can build, unless we say to ourselves, if I had a magic wand and $10 million, like, what would I want this business to look like? And now let me build backwards from there, because that's also going to feed into your, why are you doing it, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I want to talk about, are there some really common mistakes you find with companies as you're beginning to work with them? Are there certain mistakes that you encounter again and again?
Okay. Yes, there are. Usually it's like, I'm not the expert at the business. I have a team of experts, right? And they're amazing. I'm super lucky and super grateful, and I have a social responsibility expert, business management expert, merchandising expert. I have a team of people who have all had 20 plus years in the industry, right? They really know what they're doing. A lot of people hire you and hope that you will answer the question that they asked. And often you go, we think you might be asking the wrong question. And something that I say a lot is, if you do have the luxury of working with an expert and someone who's been, 360 degrees around the industry, manufacturing, retail, online, offline, China, all over the place, listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. Because I am the very first person to say, like, I'm not the expert at how to be a journalist like you. I'm not the expert at anyone who's running a business, but I'm an expert at launching and growing businesses. And you have the luxury of working with me, and I have the luxury of helping you. Let's try the suggestions. So, and that has to do with kind of opening up and going and having the courage to go, okay, I'm going to try that, because I might fail, but I'm going to try it, So one of the biggest mistakes, I think, is not consuming a lot of options and information and being open to trying new things and listening to people that may be able to contribute their expertise. Like, so that is like my super honest answer. But now a bigger question is, like, in business in general, what do they do? They think about the products they want to sell first, or the services they want to sell first. Like, now I want to do, I don't know, mother of pearl jewelry. But, like, have you looked and said, this is a need? This is something that I'm uniquely positioned to solve for, or to offer, or to provide. Like, so they start with what they want to do, their business, how their business can grow, how they can, but it never works. It never works. And they think it does. Like, we have a bigger profit margin in this category, so we're going to go after that category, double down. but they didn't say, is there double the size of the market? Do we already have such a big market share? There's not going to be much more to get out of there. Like, you have to start with the consumer of your service, whether that's the B2B buying team or it's an end consumer. You have to start with them first. If you just navel gaze at me, and my business, that is also going to shoot you in the foot, because you're not going to be looking at the end consumer enough, and you're also going to smell selfish.
Okay. I do want to have a little fun lightning round of just a few quick questions. But my last kind of bigger question is, what's next in jewelry business? I know early on you touched on, I mean, if a company is not responsible, which, I mean, these words are kind of big and vague, but if that's not a part of their ethos, that they might not be in jewelry in 5 years. So I guess kind of like, what are the major topics like that that anyone working in jewelry has to pay attention to?
Yeah, I think sustainability is essential, and not because I'm a mamby-pamby, like, you know, a tree hugger or whatever they wanted to be disparaging about. It's our planet, for God's sakes. We gotta friggin' have some responsibility. So I do believe in that to the sole of my feet, but I'm a businesswoman. A business is not sustainable if it's not going to continue to be generating profit. And the consumer wants to choose. They can see behind the curtain now, right? In our Instagram, they want to choose businesses whose morals align with theirs. My daughter wanted to buy a camouflage jacket. She's 15. She sent me a link and said, Mom, is this a good one? You know, it's only $15 from Boohoo. And I said, have you read up about that company? Do you like what they do? Do you want to help them win? And it was on text, and she wrote me back like a half an hour later and said, thank you. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to get yelled at. I want that jacket. You know, she was like, thank you, because they pay like pennies on an hour and I don't want to help them. And I thought, and that is why people are voting with their wallets. So even if you don't give a damn about the environment, you don't give a damn because you're 60 and or you're 16 and you don't give a damn, whoever you are, your consumer gives a damn now. So, and they are increasingly voting with their wallets. So the more they become aware of issues around sustainability, around you know, anything that we can be doing, gender equality, you know, go through the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Like the more you align with that, I think that has only been accelerated by the last year, and people don't want to support businesses that don't align with their morals. So I believe that down to the soles of my feet. The other thing that is true is that you have to allow your consumer to consume you how they want to. So you might not want to be on Facebook, but if they're all there and you're not going, you're going to lose. You're going to fall behind. They want to buy straight from Instagram, you know, shoppable Instagram, and you're not there, you're going to lose. So retail no longer, in my mind, it doesn't have ceilings, it doesn't have walls, it doesn't have screens even. It is everywhere. And I love me a catalog, especially a matte one with some texture. Like, everything goes. Nothing is dated. Not if you're serving your consumer the way that they want to consume you. So we have to stop putting boxes around retail and brick and mortar, and is it online or direct to consumer? Because honestly, I mean, look at Warby Parker, look at Everlane, look at Amazon, look at Blue Nile. Everybody knows you got to be everywhere they want you to be. So it's not up to you.
Okay. All right. So now on to like a little bit of a lightning round before we open it up to some audience questions.
Okay.
If I'm a business person, I kind of need to know everything. I only have so much time in a day. What are my resources that I should look at just to stay up to date in business, what's happening, what's new in general?
National jeweler.
Correct.
No, and I'm not actually joking. I like you need to do two things. You need to consume the information that your consumer is consuming. So it's kind of a broader question. Like, I know it's supposed to be a speed round, but yeah. So if your consumer is 15-year-old girls, you better be on TikTok. You better be understanding like what the latest savage love. You know, you got to be where your consumer is, right? And consume what they're consuming so that you know what they're excited about. And then you need to keep your finger on that pulse of the consumer behavior, because it's changing more rapidly than it's ever been. And you can listen to them so much better than you ever could before. Analytics on your website is a way of listening to them. So you have more direct access than you ever had before to understanding and learning about your consumer. People overlook that. They don't listen enough. They push out, they don't listen enough. So that's number one. And then, yes, you have to know what's going on in your trade. So up and down, the people who supply you and the people who consume you. So you have to keep abreast of the industry trades that speak to the portion of the market that's relevant to your business.
Is there something you read every day when it comes to business overall? Do you have like a first kind of like stop when you're
first stop for business overall?
Yeah.
You know what my first stop is? LinkedIn.
Oh.
That's my first stop. LinkedIn was the world's trade show for the past year and a half, right? So all of a sudden, I'm a very social person. I have a little bit of energy. I'm used to going out and doing talks at the trade shows. And all of a sudden there were none, and thankfully my business was already, popping up in everybody's LinkedIn every morning with a video. But it became my lifeline, and I could hear and I could listen. And I think at the top of the pandemic, I did 3 weeks of just like free office hours, because I just thought, God, if anybody can take a bit of advice and get something out of it, I'm here for that, right? And it was amazing what I learned during those 3 weeks. So social media is my first stop.
Okay. Pretend you can only have one app on your phone, not email, maybe the basics, the phone is there, the email is there. What app do you choose?
Ooh, I mean, I'm going to have to say LinkedIn because of what I just answered.
Okay.
So for me, it's LinkedIn. That's where I'm listening to my consumers.
Okay. Favorite personal organization tip for your day-to-day tip or strategy? Do you have some just genius thing that keeps your whole day together?
Yeah, I don't have a to-do list. I don't have any paper in my office except for something that I'll tell you about in a moment. But every time something comes up to do that doesn't take me less than 2 or 3 minutes, I put it into my digital calendar. I just pick a day, pick a time, there's an open slot, and I go, call Michelle Graff back or whatever it is that I have to do. It might not fit there. By the time I get there, and I go, shoot, I got to drag that somewhere else, but it's in my calendar. A little reminder is going to go off 10 minutes before. It might just be a 10-minute thing on my calendar, and I have a ton of those. That's my biggest trick that I get a lot of feedback about is I don't have a to-do list. I put everything into my digital calendar, when, where, why, repeating, things I want to do every day, every week, every month, even right down to taking 3 minutes to breathe in between calls. I mean, it's literally in my calendar. So I use technology to remind me what needs to be done.
That's a great one. Which calendar?
I use Gmail. I use my
the
Google.
GCal. That's my favorite too, but I think I'm gonna start utilizing it more.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might know the answer to this, I'm not sure. If you're working remotely from anywhere in the world with absolutely perfect internet and money is no object, where are you?
Oh my God. I'm sitting in my back garden.
I had a feeling. I was like, I think that you've already maybe like crafted that for yourself, which is very admirable.
Well, I've been married for 19 years. I've lived in Africa, Cyprus, Ireland, mainland China, Hong Kong, UK, New York City. I live in heaven right now, and I would never leave.
Okay. Most overrated topic or biggest annoyance in jewelry business retail?
Lab grown versus natural.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I think many of us can relate. Okay, well that is it for me. We have taken a lot of the time, but I will hand it over to Michelle to take some audience questions.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Those are some great questions.
Thank you, Elle. I'm gonna watch this back. This was amazing.
Thank you so much, Elle and Ashley. That was awesome. And everyone loved that discussion. We've gotten so many comments during it. And I love the lightning round. Ashley, I'm going to steal that. No shame. And thanks to our sponsor, RDI Diamonds. We had a couple questions come in beforehand. I had a couple questions came to mind. I'm going to give people a couple more minutes here to type their questions into the Zoom Q&A box, and I'll get to as many of those as possible. While we compile the Q&A, I just want to say a quick word about RDI Diamonds. RDI Diamonds, the selection you want, the quality you need. Thousands of diamonds, that's just the beginning. RDI offers a wide range of services and support to help you succeed, from flexible memo options to a partnership with De Beers Group Industry Services to generous stock options and cost-efficient shipping. RDI's goal is to provide the highest quality of both care and diamonds to your store. Visit rdidiamonds.com today to learn more. That is rdidiamonds.com. Thank you so much. Now let's get started with our listener questions. Somebody wanted to know, what are the biggest mistakes to avoid when you are rebranding? And they asked the second question as well. Can a business reinvent itself, or is it preferable to start a whole new brand? Interesting questions.
Yeah, and the first one was what say the first one again for me, please.
What are the mistakes to avoid when you are rebranding?
Oh, don't rebrand just because you think your brand's a dusty old cough, right? Don't just rebrand for rebranding's sake. Ask yourself, like, why am I rebranding? What is the reason why I need to change? What is it that I'm not achieving that I think the rebranding will help me better achieve? And make sure that you have the answers to those questions, because often people just think like, oh, I need to rebrand because I haven't done anything in 5 years. But remember New Coke? I don't know if everybody is too young to know this, but like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, spruce yourself up in some other way. Go buy a new sweater. You know, don't do it unless you have to do it. People begin to know, like, and trust you by brand consistency. So if you do a brand rebrand, if you go, okay, actually, we now like maybe you're using like, you know, technology blue, and you're like a personalized jewelry company, and you realize that the psychology of your branding is wrong. So you want to come across as more approachable and intuitive, and you know, have a better resonance with your brand, then okay, then rebrand. But don't just do it for rebranding's sake or because you're tired. You can update your UX, you can update your product, you can update the journey around your website, you can update the colors on your you know, grid on Instagram without doing a complete rebrand.
Okay. I remember New Coke, and I also remember Crystal Pepsi, also a very good avoidance example, and possibly even worse than New Coke. The second part of that, can a business reinvent itself, or do you think it's preferable just to start a whole new brand if you are actually a dusty old cough, as you put it?
Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. And you will have the integrity of the history, the heritage behind you. And when you, I, I've actually done this because I fail a lot because I try a lot of stuff that I don't know how to do. And then I learn from that, right? I just have to have a bigger pile of successes on this side than failures at this point. But like, even with my first startup, like I totally failed. I did a reverse auction technology. It was supposed to be Groupon for jewelry manufacturing. And what I failed to recognize was you need a hell of a lot of traffic. And that means money and technical, you know, digital marketing talent that I didn't have back then. So you have to, you can absolutely rebrand, and you will live on with the benefit of, once you succeed at the rebrand, of saying, you know, established in 2012, you know, and people will know that you stuck it out and you were there. So I've seen it done many times. I've seen it tried and failed, but it can be done.
Okay. Thank you so much. Someone wants to know, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing our industry today?
Um, Honestly, I think that a lot of our industry has not embraced the fact that technology can support your business, whether it is an online only business or you don't even have a website. Technology can support your business, and you should have a website, of course. But I think our industry has been lagging behind, say, cosmetics and fashion by, like, say, 20, 25 years for a long time. And I think we saw a huge ramp up made essential. Nature is the inventor. Necessity is the mother of invention. Like, everybody had to figure out how to operate inside of a digital footprint last year. And I have no welcome mat for what is the last year. But the silver lining is how people went, oh, wow, I can do in-person shopping. And now a year later, our clients are saying, wow, the conversion rate of people who not like do a virtual in-person shopping, the conversion rate is so much higher. They're still coming back into the store to pick it up, but then they're buying something. Like, the industry has not embraced and is slow to embrace. If I were to quote the percentages, and I won't because I can't do it accurately right at the second, but the percentage of jewelry retailers that don't even have a website is shockingly high. Shockingly high. There are businesses making Insta websites, and they should, because they have a reason to survive, because the store owner thinks that it's inscrutable. It's difficult. It's not, it's different than what they do, which is the in-store sales. They're ignoring the 80% of the buying journey that's happening online, and they're losing the business, and we're losing these great stores. So I think the lack of embracing what technology can do to support your business, even if every single transaction happens offline, that's the biggest.
Okay. All right. And this is the last question here. We're going to go a little over the hour, but I think everybody's enjoying it. So I think that's okay. This is for me, actually. One of the most interesting points of the webinar was you mentioned, Elle, the advantage of physical retail being smell, sound, personal touch. Do you think that's something that we might see actually even grow after this period of isolation? Because people are going to be anxious to interact again. And, you mentioned an experience, and I think are a lot of people missing those experiences? And do you think stores will see, because foot traffic was on the decline before the pandemic. Do you think we might see a little spike in foot traffic as people are anxious to get back out and about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just look inside your heart, right? Aren't we all just dying to go out and have a glass of wine at a bar? I mean, aren't we all just wanting to go to a restaurant and have somebody bring us, an appetizer? Aren't we all
I'm
wanting
thrilled for someone to bring me anything I didn't have to cook myself.
right? And look, I just told you I was in a store twice. I shop like twice a year normally, but I'm like, they're open, and everybody feels the same way. I think there's a huge opportunity for in-store retailers. And I cited the online only people that went, you know what? We need that. And they're right. So I think there's a huge opportunity. I think the footfall is going to increase. I think the smart retailers that harness technology to allow people to send in their wish list and have them ready so they can come in and look at them. They get a VIP experience like they never experienced before because they weren't Louis Vuitton Cartier store shoppers. They can have it, at Jane's jewelry store on the corner now. So I think, just letting go of that feeling that technology is intimidating and just, ask Google how to do some things. I mean, there's really so many low cost, even no cost things that you can do to make the retail experience even more delightful and to amplify it with technology. I do believe that even without that, you can fail. You can fail it. You can feel with or without it. You've got to create an experience that's delightful, that's focused on the consumer, that sets up the dressing room for them, But I absolutely think we're going to see a resurgence. We're going to see people, delighted to be in the stores, and we're going to see the continued, failing of businesses that aren't really focused on the end consumer and how they want to be served.
Okay. I think that's an excellent note to end on. Elle, thank you again so much for coming on today. And Ashley, thank you for being an awesome host. This was a great, great discussion, and we got a lot of excellent feedback in the chat. As a reminder, if anyone missed this session or wants to watch it again, we had couple people say they want to see it again. It'll be up on our website this coming Friday, April 30th. My next question will be back next Tuesday. That's May 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern. I will be hosting that episode, and I will be interviewing Tiffany Stevens and Maya Owens from the Jewelers Vigilance Committee. We're going to talk about another aspect of life getting back to normal, and that is people going back to work and all the legal aspects around welcoming employees back, vaccines, et cetera. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. You can sign up to attend that webinar on our site. I just dropped the link into the chat. Thanks again to our hosts and our guests, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.